Hey, what's up coders? It's Derek Codes here, and today we're going to be going over something a little bit different. It's not going to be PHP and Laravel as usual. It's not our normal recipe, but today we're going to be going over something that every open source developer needs to know: basic Linux commands. It's an absolute must. You got to know this stuff. You're going to be working in open source. Anytime you talk about open source, PHP or Laravel, you're going to be talking about Linux. So jump over to my website, derekcodes.io, to copy and paste all the commands. It'll make it super easy. But what we're going to be doing in this video is actually going through everything in detail. So stay tuned. It's going to be awesome. Thanks for watching. So the first thing we're going to want to do is jump over to derekcodes.io and find the article under my project section called Top Linux Commands a Web Developer Must Know, Part 1. November 8th, 2022 is when it was posted. You can jump from it from the homepage, or using this top right-hand menu here, just navigate over to projects and find it. There's a search in there too, obviously, if you can, if it's too nested, but at the moment it's not, so I'm sure it'll be right at the top. But the first thing we want to do, using Terminal on your Mac or PuTTY on your Windows machine, is actually connect securely to the server that you're working with, right? So that's going to be SSH, and SSH stands for Secure Shell. So you can type SSH space, and I always put my username first. That way I don't have to put it in later, because it's going to prompt you because it doesn't know who you are, right? So I'm going to put in Derek at example.derekcodes.io and hit enter. And the first thing it's going to do is prompt you to authorize the fingerprint or the public signature of the server to store in your known host file. So if there's ever a man-in-the-middle attack or like a spoofing attack, someone's pretending to be example.derekcodes.io later on, your SSH command will actually prompt you and say, hey, the signature is different. We're not going to let you connect. And you can then remove that known hosts file entry and connect anyway if you want, or you could pay attention on what you're trying to connect to. So go ahead and click or type in yes, and then it's going to prompt me for my password. And I'm logged in. So beautiful thing. I'm going to go ahead and type in exit to get out of that, because I want to use my current terminal that I'm in. And so that's how easy it is to add this information to your command line and to your repertoire to connect to another server, right? So super, super easy, but obviously to get started, it's step one. Step two is ls, or the list command. Super important, because different ways to use it is pretty different. If you just type in ls, you'll see here that we have a composer file and our example app that we've been working with and some other videos, but you can't really see much. So using space -L, which is the elongated kind of vertical format of the list, you see a lot of details, right? And starting from left to right, the first column on your left, those are your read, write, and execute permissions for you, your group, and globally on the server. And we're not going to get into that right now. It's a pretty deep security conversation for another video, but know that, for example, this last column here, that's world readable and executable. So anyone on this platform that I'm in right now on this server would be able to read the contents of this file and execute it. So there's way around that other than just as permission, for example, like jail cells and things like that. You get into Linux, and but we're not going to get into that. But no, just be paying attention to your permissions. You probably might have heard of 777. That's a chmod permission that allows global access and write access to your file. And it's pretty common when you're talking about the web, having like an uploads folder for people to do that, just to get a folder writable, and so that your code can dump in a file. But it's super insecure, but totally different conversation here. So those are your permissions. The next column over here that's important is the user who owns the file, which is me, the group who owns the file, which is also me. You can always, the reason that's different is you could change the file group on this, for example, to maybe like a developers group, and then anyone in your developers group would also have access to the file. So it's kind of cool. Next is the file size, and then the date it was created. So pretty cool. But you'll notice here we don't see any hidden files, and we know they're there. I created one. There's not, or a hidden folder rather. So you can use ls space minus la. I honestly always type this command anytime I'm listing something. Hit enter, and you get a couple different things. There's your current directory, which is the single dot. The double dot is going back a directory. Here's our files, and then here's this dot hidden folder that was there. So I don't know why you wouldn't want to always just see everything. So I always add that A in there to actually see what I'm looking for. And that actually branches right onto our next command, which is the change directory command, or cd. You can use this now to cd into this hidden folder, cd space dot hidden, for example, or whatever path you're into, and you hit enter. And now you're in here, and now you can ls again. Obviously, we don't have anything in this folder, or do whatever you need to do, right? To go back a directory, do cd space dot dot. That brings you back one directory in the folder structure. And you can chain that too. So you do cd space dot dot slash dot dot slash, and wherever you want to go. For example, this would bring me back to my current directory. I'm going back one out of example and then back into example. And I'm still in the same spot, right? So cd is also really helpful when you're really nested into a big project. You don't have to use that cd space dot dot forward slash dot dot forward slash dot dot, to get back to where you want to be in your home directory. You can just type cd and hit enter, and it changes you back to your home directory. So super, super helpful there. The other thing that is really helpful when I'm coding is knowing your directory path, which is the pwd command. It's showing you your working directory. So if I'm going to type in pwd right now, you'll see I'm in home Derek example. So if I type in cd period hidden and hit enter and type that pwd, you notice it's giving you the exact full path to where you are. It's really always helpful to know whether you're updating your Apache configurations or installing something from source, or you're just coding a new Laravel project. Whatever your case may be, you got to know where you are, right? So removing things is super, super important. Obviously, you'll be doing that a lot whenever you're building a project or maintaining your server. And that's as easy as typing rm space and the file that you want to remove. For example, I'm going to type in composer here. If I can type, here we go. And you just hit enter. So the one thing though that rm does is kind of make sure that you really want to delete something recursively. Like if you're trying to remove this folder here, this dot hidden folder, for example, I'm gonna hit enter. You can't remove this, it's a folder, man. There's tons of stuff in there. But if you really want to, you do rm space minus rf for recursive force. And the recursive goes through all the directories and recursively deletes everything, right? The force makes it so it doesn't prompt you if that folder actually doesn't exist. So if I'm going to actually remove force a file called test.txt, it's not going to complain even though it doesn't exist. For example, if I do rm space test.txt, it says it's actually complaining at me, saying, hey, you can't remove this thing, it doesn't even exist. So from here, copying and moving commands, very, very similar commands. The only difference is pretty slight between these different two. If we want to copy one file, let's say composer to composer.far.back, and we'll use ls minus L here to see it. Now we see that we actually copied it. Let's say we want to copy our hidden folder, right, to hidden folder 2. And we can't. It's a folder. It's a little bit more robust than CP is going to let us do here without any attributes. So what we're going to actually do is use the -a attribute, which stands for archive. So we're going to make an archive copy of this folder and list again, and there it is. So if you're ever wanting to move entire folder structures, you're going to use that -a, that archive attribute, to actually copy things. Like I said, move, mv command, very, very similar. If you're just moving files, like composer.far.back to composer.far.back 2, You'll see that it moved it no problem. But the other cool thing about move is that it has the understanding that if you're moving something, you just want to move it, right? So this hidden folder, for example, you can move that and it's not going to prompt you. So I'm going to move hidden 2 to hidden 3 and hit enter. Oh, it's not named correctly here. It's hidden -2. All right, so if I want to move the .hidden-2 folder to .hidden-3, you just hit enter and it's not going to prompt you. You don't need that archive option there like you did with copy. One of the cool things too that I wanted to give you a little bonus here in the video that's not on the website is the clear command. You type clear and hit enter and it clears your entire screen. Those commands that you typed are still there in your directory, but your terminal history. You can hit the up arrow and actually get all the commands that you've been typing if you ever need to access it again. That's tip number 2 that's not on the website. But the last kind of bonus thing that I wanted to go over here was tab completion, which is really cool. So if you type in ls space hidden -2, I renamed it, didn't I? It's -3, you know. But that's a good example too. So if I want to list out the current directory, I do // right? And I hit tab twice, it shows me all the files that are in that folder structure. So it's really, really handy. You know, you're trying to change into directory, it's a long directory structure, you're like, wait a second, what's in there again? Where am I trying to go? That happens to me a lot when I'm building out WordPress sites, because it's trying to get in from your home directory all into like WP content and the themes and jump into the theme and then the folder structure that you created within that theme. You know, it can be pretty gnarly sometimes, or even plugins and things like that. So having that tab completion is pretty nice. So definitely recommend using that. So you do this .hidden, for example, and you start using this tab command here, and you're gonna notice that there's actually nothing in there. So pretty cool stuff. The other thing you can do is to actually look for a command. You type in SS, for example, and double tap the tab key. It'll list you all the commands you have access to that start with SS. And there's like, oh, there's SSH, perfect, that's the one I wanted. So really cool stuff, really super helpful, especially as you're learning. If you use that tab command, it'll really show you a lot of the information, try and auto-complete what you're looking for. So really, really cool stuff. Thanks so much for watching this episode. I hope you liked it. Be sure to comment below with any questions you may have, ideas for my next video, or anything else that's on your mind. Also, like and subscribe and click the bell icon to get alerted of my next episode. Until next time, keep coding, everyone.